Thank you, parents, for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started right now. I know more parents will come and join later, but I'm not going to hold you guys all night for those who actually signed in on time. Again, welcome to our November Parent Partner Network PPN meeting. I am Mr. Ken Williams, the District Parent and Community Liaison. This is a open space, a comfortable space for you guys to be able to come and share your thoughts, ideas, concerns, suggestions, remedies to problems with the principals and myself. So please feel free to join in, to put your questions or comments in the chat all throughout the whole meeting. Tonight we have a special guest after the principals, our very own Ms. Nimini, who is our district MTSS coordinator. She's gonna kind of go over what that means and what that means for your child. Again, parents who are just joining, please put your child's name in the chat so I can make sure they get that extra credit in their math class after the meeting. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll have a few announcements at the end. Any questions you ask throughout the course of the meeting, we will definitely address them at the end of our session today. Thanks again for coming. And Mr. Anderson, the principal Anderson, will get us started with the elementary.
Good evening, parents. First, I just want to say thank you. I think it's been 40 days since the school year started, and we just continue to thank you for your support. Don't have many updates. I do have an event. We do have an event tomorrow. It is a literacy workshop for our third grade parents. So all the third grade parents, make sure you sign up with your homeroom teacher. They're going to be going over some reading strategies, how you can support students at home, as well as the third grade reading law. So that is on tomorrow. I do want to say thank you for any parents that participated in our trunk or treat. We had such a huge event, and that was on October 28th. We had over 70 cars that opened their trunks, more than 200 participants, student participants. So it was our parents showed up, and I really thank you for that. But that's all for the elementary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Yes, we had a great time at the historical annual trunk or treat. It was a time to be had. I'm still eating candy from that event. Dr. Rencher from middle school, thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate your involvement in your child's success at our district. So I just have a few updates to share with you. The National Junior Honor Society Canned Food Drive began on November 8th. It's going until next Tuesday, and we're collecting canned goods for those in need. So encourage your children to bring in those cans. It's a competition by class. So just a little good would go a long way for a lot of families. So please do that. Thank you. If you have not been receiving our weekly updates, please fill out the form that was sent home yesterday by the children. We sent out a paper copy of a weekly update with a request for parent information, email, phone number, so we can make sure you're added to our robocall, robotext, and robo email notifications. Also, the University of Michigan Gear Up program is actually in full effect now. Our first field experience is going to be something that deals with physics and Newton's laws of motion, force, acceleration by going to Topgolf. So the students are going to do something fun to learn about science. So that's a good thing. And this program stays with the students who started initially in 7th grade throughout their high school career and even beyond once they go to college or any post-secondary institution. So it's a mentorship program that follows. And the last one is the staff versus students basketball game. The students are extremely excited. Of course, there's a caveat. They have to maintain their behavior in school and a certain GPA, but they get a chance to try their hand at beating the staff in a 5-on-5 basketball game. So we'll see how that turns out. We got a lot of old folks here. I'm sure they still got the skills necessary to put the students in their place. If you have any questions, any concerns, please give me an email, a call. I can share that in the chat if necessary. And we look forward to working with you in the future as well. That's all for the middle school.
Thank you, Dr. Richard, for the update. I can help you out with that field trip to Topgolf, Doc, but I can't do that on that basketball court no more. I may be laid out after the first minute.
Well, you know, you can coach. You can coach.
I can't coach. I still got to get for coaching. I don't have to get for breathing though. Thank you for that update, Dr. Rencher. Now the high school principal, Mr. Brian Ericson.
Good evening, parents. Thank you for coming to the meeting. Like Mr. Anderson said, we definitely want to thank you for your patience. We've had a number of quarantines trying to keep all staff and students safe, and we do understand it can be frustrating, so we appreciate you. A couple updates from the high school. We are underway with winter sports. Basketball tryouts happened this week and last week. If your student was unaware and are interested in participating, they can contact myself or Mr. Williams. We'll direct them to the coach and get them lined up for the winter sports there. We also have Lady Butterflies and Gentlemen's Club, our mentoring organizations, up and running. Their first field trip is this Friday. If you have a Gentlemen's Club individual Gentlemen's Club interested student who would like to attend, they can contact me. We'll get them signed up for Friday, get them out of the building for once. It's been a couple years since we've been able to do that. And if you have a young lady who's interested in being in the Butterflies, Miss Sane is a point of contact there. We also have our Detroit Cares program starting this week. We have 15 juniors and seniors who are going to serve as mentors to our 9th grade students, helping them out with organization, soft skills, and some social emotional learning. So you may have a child who's a junior or senior who's being a mentor, or you may have a 9th grade student who will eventually get that instruction from our upperclassmen, which will be really powerful. And then finally, we did have Q1 come to an end. We do understand things have been a little chaotic with quarantining and virtual learning. So most teachers are allowing students to go back still and make up assignments. So if your child did not perform as you would like for that Q1, there is the opportunity to improve that grade. So just wanted to toss that out there. And that's all for the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. So I'm sorry to repeat again, Mr. Erickson, you said there is an opportunity to improve that first quarter grade. Is that all classes or just core classes?
That'd be all classes.
Thank you for that information. Thank you. Thank you, principals, again for sharing and giving information. Parents, if you have any questions for any of the principals, please make sure you put it in the chat. Any questions, ideas, suggestions, concerns, this is your opportunity to have a parent voice and assist us as we work with you to educate your child. So this is a free space, a comfortable space. Please put your questions inside the chat. With no further ado, we're going to have Ms. Nimini, who is our district MTSS coordinator. She's our special guest for the night. We're so glad to have her. Thank you for coming, Ms. Nimini. And she's going to educate us about the MTSS process and what it means and how it's different from special ed and things of that nature. At this time, Ms. Nimini, you can share.
Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay, it says host disabled. It says host. Okay, here we go. Now I can share. All righty, Mr. Williams, I'm gonna use you to let me know if you guys can see my screen. Got it. All right, everyone. Again, my name is Stephanie Nimini. I am the CPA's District MTSS K-12 coordinator for this school year. This is a new position. And throughout this presentation, you'll learn what MTSS is about, and you'll learn what the difference between MTSS and special education is. So my role here as the MTSS coordinator is really to develop, implement, and monitor the district's tiered systems of support. And I'll be able to talk more about the district's tiered systems of support throughout this presentation. I'm also here to help support school teams by collecting data, looking at that academic and behavior data, helping them form interventions in the classroom and in school-wide, and monitoring that progress in the schools. So what you see on my screen is a little bit of information about me. I've been in education for 23 years, 14 years as a classroom teacher, K-8, and 9 years in leadership experiences. And what you see at the bottom is me and my son. That was when he graduated from high school. And in the other corner is his tribe. So what I want you to understand about MTSS, we're trying to build those support systems for your child as well. So every child needs a tribe within the school setting and outside of the school setting as well. So what is MTSS? The Michigan Department of Education defines MTSS as multi-tiered systems of support that is a comprehensive framework comprised of a collection of research-based strategies. That's important to remember. Research-based strategies designed to meet the individual needs and access of the whole child. Its intention is to interconnect the education and social emotional systems in support of successful learners, schools, centers, and community outcomes. MTSS is a framework that provides schools and districts with an efficient way to organize resources to support educators in the implementation of effective practices. So with fidelity so that all learners succeed. And we're going to dig into what that looks like. So MTSS is about academic intervention and behavior support. Now, what is that? Academic intervention means high quality instruction and curriculum, academic and skills assessments, a strong tier 1 instruction, that means in the classroom, tiered instructional interventions, and we'll talk more about what those tiers look like, grade level, subject, team decision-making, and also MTSS is behavior and PBIS and SEL. So what is that like? What are some examples of it? Social emotional learning and behavior assessments, including tracking school behavior and data referrals, materials designed to support SEL, school-wide and student-specific behavior plans, including prevention and intervention and team behavior decision-making. And those two areas overlap one another, where we're creating screening and processes to monitor our students' academic and behavior in the school and in the classroom. And we're solving problems as a team. So that means whatever that academic intervention is, and we see that students need that support, we're problem solving as a team, okay? So MTSS is the umbrella for these programs. So under that umbrella is RTI, which was explained on the other slide, academics. That's tier 1, which is your core instruction, tier 2, targeted instruction, and tier 3, intensive instruction. It's also school and community collaboration and parental action. Also, MTSS is under the, what else is under that umbrella is teamwork, professional development for teachers, positive behavior intervention and supports, that's our PBIS program, and curriculum design. These are all things that make an MTSS program efficient and implementable into a school setting. So thinking about MTSS and thinking about core instruction and routines and procedures, I just want you to think about this question. What routines have you started to develop and use in your home? I want you to think about those. Think about your morning routine with your child, meal routine. Do you guys eat dinner at a certain time? TV and computer time at home. Is that a routine in your home? Homework, chores, bedtime, and other routines that you might have established in your home with your student. Those things are very important, and those are the type academic and behavior routines are what we are looking at as well in our system. Multi-tiered model of school support. So earlier I talked about tiers. This is what the tiers look like. So at tier 1, that's all of our students across our district, across our schools, and in our classroom. There are universal supports in place for all of our students in academics and behavior. It might be PBIS. It might be some type of support system in the classroom that all students are able to participate in. Then when we reach tier 2, that's when we see maybe a couple of some of our students need additional support and help academically and behaviorally. So then we're going to start pulling them, going into the classroom, small group instruction, whether it's academic or behavior, to try to support that student. And then once they reach to tier 3 is more intensive support for the student. That means we're looking at individual students and even groups as well, so even smaller groups, to try to help support them academically when we see there's gaps or when we see that they need that support within the classroom. So what is the difference between MTSS and special education? So one side is MTSS, one side is special education. Notice some key words. So under MTSS intervention, that means that academic and behavior support takes place before special education testing. This step is classroom, teacher, and school driven. Okay. On the special education side, special education takes place after the school has implemented student interventions for a period of time. This step is usually parent and school driven as well. MTSS is tiers 1, 2, and also 3 for academic behavior intervention supports, which includes the classroom teacher and specialists in each school building. Academic on the special education side, academic and behavior accommodations are provided by the classroom teacher and special education teacher. So on one side, you have interventions that are different than accommodations. Accommodations are part of that IEP process. Then on MTSS side, student intervention support team, our SAT team meets to look at who our students are. We're looking at their academic testing data, we're looking at behavior data, and we're determining what tiers of support students may need. But on the special education side, there's usually a child find meeting or an IEP meeting after the student has gone through the MTSS process or that SAT team process. And then also under MTSS, we have frequent progress monitoring of students and behavior improvement by the SAT team, which is very important. So under that MTSS process, we're looking at consistent monitoring if our interventions are working for our students. And then under the special ed side, review of the student's IEP and special education teacher will progress monitor. So we appreciate how parents are working with us while we build some foundations of our MTSS process and program. We would ask you to allow us to continue to help your children under that intervention space before special education is requested. We work closely, the MTSS team works closely with special education. So we want to make sure that we're being proactive and supporting students throughout those tiers before we're asking the school to have our student tested for under special education. Because a lot of times the student may need mentoring, the student may need additional tutoring. There could be a lot of reasons why there's gaps, and we want to be able to offer those interventions to your child before we reach the point of special education. Here's some examples of intervention. One side, students are engaged in learning. That could be using technology, actually writing, collaborating with one another. And then also small group instruction. These are just two ways that you could see intervention in the classroom setting. What can you do as a parent? So here are some things that you can do as a parent to support your student in school. Partner with your child's teacher by asking your student each day, what questions did you ask in the classroom today? Instead of asking them, what did you learn today? A lot of times students don't really cannot really put a voice to the actual learning in that way. But if you ask them what questions did they ask today, that's a really good focus and way for you to know what your student has learned in the classroom that day as well. Because if they can articulate to you what question they asked, that'll give you a good gauge on what they've been learning. And then, were there any moments today when you felt proud of yourself? That's a good question to ask your child in the when they come home from school. Provide your student time to work on reading and math practice at home. And that's for all the core subjects. Provide them time to work on it. Even if they don't have homework, allow them some practice. And if you want extra work or practice for your students, your child's teacher and principal would be more than happy to provide that information for you, some practice. Ask the school for help when you see your student is falling behind academically and behaviorally. Ask for help and give intervention time to work. So when students are in our intervention process, that means we're providing support for them. Give it time to work because it takes time for students to catch up. So be patient, ask questions, and partner with the schools. Ask questions to ask your child's teacher. Are there any interventions in place for my child's learning? How much time will my child spend each week in intervention? So these are questions you can ask your child's teacher if you're not sure if your child is receiving any intervention. They would be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And here's my contact information. So if you ever have additional questions and you need some additional explanation on MTSS, intervention, academics, the behavior interventions in place, you can ask me and you can ask your child's principal as well, because I work closely with each principal at each campus. Also, I will put my information in the chat for you so that you have that as well. I put my email address and my extension, that's all in the chat. So are there any questions before I turn the rest of this PPN into the hands of Mr. Williams? Are there any questions? All right, well, thank you for having me here today. And I look forward to meeting you all here again soon with other topics that we can touch bases on to help support you, to help support your child's success in school. And thank you for your time, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Nimini. You did a great job. I guess you did so well. There were no questions. You did a great job presenting the information about the MTSS. I truly was enlightened about the process and the things we are doing for students to help them become better learners. And so parents, there you have it. Any questions, concerns, Ms. Nimini is always available. You have her contact information, as well as the principals, as well as myself. We're excited about this new model that we are doing in the district to help support students from a K through 12 perspective. So again, if you get any questions later on, just reach out to her, and we are definitely here for you and your child to assist them in this learning process. Thank you again, Ms. Newton, for coming today. We'll have you back soon in the near future. T, if you can share, parents, we're going to put in the chat a scholarship flyer for those students who are in high school. Next Friday is Black Friday, Black Scholarship Friday. It's a workshop and presentations you can join in for high school parents to be able to go down and get assistance to have your students apply for scholarships. There's a ton of scholarship money out there and available, and that flyer is in the link as we speak. So parents, please look at the flyer for the high school parents, take advantage of that, take this opportunity. This is an event we promote every year through one of our partnerships. So please take advantage of that opportunity and go down and get some of that free money that's available for all of our students. Next flyer is our YouTube flyer. We do have a Channel Park Academy, have a YouTube channel. So even if somebody missed this meeting tonight, you'll be able to hear Ms. Nimby again on our YouTube channel. So parents, if you know anybody that's at the school that could not make the meeting tonight, please make sure they log into our YouTube channel. That link and flyer will also be in the chat. So Mr. Anderson's literacy meeting tomorrow. We've done a math workshop for parents for elementary. Dr. Rencher has done some meetings. Each school has done meetings, and we're putting these recordings inside of our YouTube channel. We know everybody has a busy schedule, and sometimes the times we meet don't match up with your schedule. We want to make sure that you get this vital information about the third grade reading law and everyday math. This is great information for parents to have. So we have archived these videos. You can always go back and look at these videos at a later date. So in the chat, you have the YouTube flyer and a link to get there as well. I want to touch base real quick on the opportunity for students to get vaccinated. And for those students who aren't vaccinated, they do not have to quarantine. So I know we have our personal choice and we have our person that feels about the vaccination, but I just want to make sure parents understand that this could be a game changer for your child not having to quarantine as we deal with this everyday issue, literally everyday issue on how it's affecting education from a day-to-day basis. Parents, if your child has shown any signs of any symptoms or any kind of way, please keep them home until you get them tested. The virus is being brought into the school, not at the school, it's being brought to the school. And we have other students who have to quarantine because a person who was sick came to school and now they tested positive for COVID. And it affects a lot of teachers as well as students, and it really affects the daily education. So again, if your child is feeling any kind of symptoms in any kind of way, a slight fever or a headache or any of the symptoms, please keep them at home, monitor them. And then if the symptoms get worse, obviously get them tested and keep them home until you get your test results. As we have to work together to be able to overcome this huge challenge that has been placed on education, to keep educating kids in the midst of a pandemic, which is more than a notion. It's everyday issues we're having with it. So again, thank you, parents, for your support, and thank you for doing what you've been doing so far. I just want to make sure everybody understands to please keep your child at home if they have shown any symptoms. I think I've covered everything. There is a question in the chat. One of my good parents, Ms. Richardson. Let's see, quarantine. Is there a process of how families are informed of quarantine updates, or the student or staff specific? What principal wants to handle that great question? Don't all fight at the same time. Don't all rush to take it. Ms. Richardson, she was in the middle school, she's in high school now. So, but Mr. Anderson, you want to be brave and jump out there. I know Dr. Ericson. Oh man, Ericson, there we go. Thank you, Ericson.
Yep. So at the high school, we basically identify who the student was, go back, see where the student has been, and then with the students who are quarantining, we make a phone call. We pretty much have a script we follow, which details when the return date is. So you would be receiving a phone call or a voicemail, and then the following day we have a list at the door. So if anyone didn't get the voicemail, didn't get the phone call, then we can catch them at the door, and then we bring them down and we'll notify the parent that way.
So Thank you, Principal Erickson. There's a follow-up question. Well, this is a two-part question Ms. Richardson gave us. If parents keep students home, what process should parents, students take for students to attend virtual classes? So if a student is asked to be quarantined, Principal help me out with this, they are immediately shifted to virtual learning at that time because we have to still educate students, and they should receive a device, electronic device, and they will also receive links. Principals, you might want to chime in on that process of when a student is being sent home for quarantine and how that the next day lessons work.
So when at the middle school, I can speak for us, we basically provide the students with whatever devices they need. Once we find out that they would need to quarantine, we have so few students at the middle school who are vaccinated at the moment. It's usually a case where the cohort is quarantined together. So if that's the case, then the teachers that they currently have on site automatically transition to virtual teachers. So the links have been provided to the students in an email in September. So all they have to do is check their email, do a search for Zoom. It provides them with the links for all their classes, just in case we have to make that pivot and transition to virtual for whatever reason. So they can continue and resume classes as they've done throughout the year.
Thank you, Dr. Rencher. Mr. Erickson, I'm going to ask you to take this question because Mr. Anderson, his kids don't move around, so this wouldn't be effective for elementary. But Mr. Woodward asks, so since they moved to different classes now, how do you know what class from a class needs to be quarantined?
So I can take that one, Mr. Erickson, if you don't mind. Yes, that's one of our parents. Hey, Ms. Woodard. So basically, we'll know by the fact that students are remaining in their cohort, so they don't mix. They don't go to different classes, like we traditionally have at the middle school. They stay with the same students the entire day. They just go to different classrooms. We make sure that the teachers maintain those layers of protection, the filters, the masks, sanitized often early between classes. Also making sure that students try to maintain that distance and taking those precautions so we know exactly which students to target.
So Doc, for a little clarity, so that they may change classes, but that same class, whether it's 8th grade, you in the 8th grade AA, you with AA students all day.
Right. So your classmates don't change.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Old school, kind of like elementary then, kind of go back old school. It's the same, you're in the same cohort all day. Okay. Ms. Woodard, hope that answers your question. If not, you can ask another question. You're welcome, Ms. Richardson. Any other questions, parents? We are here for you, here to hear you, here to talk to you. And this is your opportunity to have a parent voice and to help us navigate through this process. So if you got any other questions, I don't want to leave anybody out. I don't think I've seen another question here. Let me scroll to the top, please. Oh, yeah, I know you had them at all 3 schools, Mr. Okay, elementary and middle and high school. Wow. Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Thank you for being a part of the CPA family. I think I've covered everything. We talked about the scholarship flyer, the YouTube channel for Chandler Park. Please, parents, take a look at that to get information, as well as we talked about the opportunity for elementary students now to become vaccinated, as well as high school, middle school students. We talked about keeping kids home who may have symptoms. We're doing our very best to try to limit the contact tracing, so we don't have these mass, couple hundred, 200-300 kids at one time. So we're just, it's a growing and learning process. And I thank you for your patience and bearing with us. We would much rather have the kids here, but unfortunately, this is education as we know it right now. So again, parents, if there's no other questions, Ms. Nimney, thank you again for coming out today. Doing a great job presenting MTSS information to us. I have been educated in it. So parents, if you got any questions, Ms. Nimney, later on or after this meeting, or you come across a situation 2-3 months down the line, you have her contact information, please don't hesitate to reach out to her or the principals. We are here to give your students interventions and support throughout the way. Well, with that being said, principal, anything else to say, or we all good?
I think there's one more question in there, Mr. Williams.
Oh, it is. Mr. Anderson, you gonna take it or you want me to read it again? Okay, so if our children are vaccinated, they would have to quarantine, correct? That is correct.
Okay, yeah, because
Yes.
obviously I haven't experienced that part, the vaccinated kids.
Yeah, right, because elementary, yeah, so Ms. Page, yes, if your child has been vaccinated, they have to just produce evidence of that by turning in a copy of their card to the front office, and they'll keep that on record. And then yes, that child does not have to quarantine. That's why it's such a big thing. And I know we all have different opinions about the vaccination, but if this is the only thing we're given as an opportunity to get past it, is the vaccine. So in order for us to try to keep kids in school, we can't take a stance. We just have to try to encourage parents to get it, because as of right now, it's all we have that to really keep kids inside the school building is if more kids get vaccinated. Dr. Rencher says only very few students in the middle school, and just now recently in the past week, elementary probably don't have one yet, but hopefully more and more high school students are getting it. But now it's open to all grades. We can, if we do this and get the vaccine, it would allow for more students to be able to stay inside the school building and be educated inside its four walls. And staff alike, yeah, students and staff. The more students and staff we have vaccinated, it'll really cut down on this contact tracing. Because if not, this is going to be a norm of sending kids home for weeks, 2-3 weeks. Some school districts are preparing to close down for a week or two, just because, as you know, if you watch the news, the numbers in Michigan is the number one place right now. It's sky high amongst adolescents. So we have to be proactive and ready. If the state decides to do something, or the Wayne County Health Department decides to do something, the Michigan is on fire right now as far as cases. So we are getting prepared, being proactive, and just want everybody to be safe. Well, with that being said, parents, we were glad you came out to join us tonight. Any questions or concerns after this meeting, please reach out to Mr. Ericson, Mr. Anderson, Dr. Rencher, myself, Ms. Nimity. We're always here and available 24/7, unfortunately. So you can always reach out to us, but we're definitely glad to have you. Thank you for partnering with Channel Park Academy, and we'll see you in December.